Hey everybody, welcome back to your next episode of Dr. V's Motivational Monday, a video series on self-regulation and effective learning strategies where our goal is to learn how to learn. Because after all, everybody, learning is something that should be fun. And today, what I want to do is I want to talk about something that people often find not fun when it comes to learning, and that is research. People often look at research as like this insurmountable obstacle, right? And so instead of getting it done, we often wait until the last minute, panicking and doing research that is not necessarily going to lead us to the most credible, valid, or reliable information. And so if that's familiar to you, then in this tip, we're going to talk about how we can research smarter, not later, and how doing so can help us ditch that midnight panic. We're going to talk about the Researcher's Survival Guide, 6 hacks for smoother research. And the first thing that you need to keep in mind is it all comes down to starting with the good stuff. When I was in school, I had a paper I had to read that was called Garbage In, Garbage Out. And essentially what it talks about is that if the first thing you do is look for garbage information, then what you deliver to people is going to be garbage information. You don't change the value of the information just because now you're saying it. And that comes down to where are you getting that information from? So instead of going to places like Google immediately, go to something like library databases like JSTOR or EBSCO or Google Scholar that is going to help you prevent yourself from having to go through this mountain of misinformation, right? Like, how do you know what's right and what's not? Well, if you go to these academic databases, you don't have to question whether the information is deemed correct or not. The second thing is going to come down to keyword magic. This is all about knowing what you search is what you get, right? So if I search for social media, then what I'm going to pull back is any source that has social media in it. I could try to refine my search by something like the impact of TikTok on Generation Z's attention span, but even then, it's going to be searching for of and on. And so one thing that I can do is I can use Boolean logic. Boolean logic is a way that I can connect or combine my keywords using and, which is like a plus sign. So I could say TikTok and attention span. I have not, which is like a minus sign. So I could say TikTok not, right? Not attention span. And then everything that it pulls up is going to be about TikTok, but has nothing to do with attention span, as opposed to the first one where it was all about TikTok and attention spans. And then you have or, which is like a slash, where it's either or. I want TikTok or Facebook, right, on attention span. So now I have a bit more of a refined search, which is going to give me better sources. The next tip is going to be all about checking the date. If the source is older than your favorite childhood cartoon, it might be out of date. In a lot of cases, you want to aim for research from the last 10 years. That's really pushing it. Like, that's right at the edge of too old, unless it's like classic theory, unless it's like the beginning of that line of research. So for instance, I use a theory that was created in 1992, and so I'm going to always come back and cite that 1992 paper, right? You want to aim for an even shorter duration, so 5 to 7 years if it's related to technology. The next one is going to be to save and cite as you go. There's nothing worse than trying to remember where you found something 3 hours later, especially if it's like that perfect attention-grabbing stat. So please make sure you're keeping track of your citations, and I would recommend downloading any PDFs that you can get your hands on in order to make sure you can get back to that source in the future. You can also ask the research pros. These are going to be your librarians. Guys, librarians literally exist as the experts in finding information. That's what they go to school to do, is find information. And so you are encouraged to use them. If you are struggling, go ask them for help. They will be able to give you strategies. They'll be able to give you guidance. And if you can't find the source, you can always request it through Interlibrary Loan, which is a service where you provide the bibliographical information and the librarians find the source for you. The last thing, guys, is a warning about Wikipedia. It can be a great starting point, but it is not an ending point. You can use it to gather background information, and you can go down to the references to look at those, but remember that a Wikipedia is a wiki, which means anybody can modify and edit it, which means we can't trust the validity of that information. This was our 6 hacks for smoother research. The goal, guys, like I said, is to research smarter, not later, and to ditch that midnight panic. This has been everything for your next episode of Dr. V's Motivational Monday. If you'd like a say in the videos produced on this channel, go ahead and scan this QR code. If not, I'll see you next time. Take care, everybody.